As the title explains, if you had a friend who is a staunch lesbian but separate sexuality and romance, and she was willing to have fun with you, would that be acceptable? Or would the strict boundary of never dating be a deal breaker and insulting? Thank you. Kind regards from a lesbian whose curiosity about her old high school friends is growing. Story 1. I had a girl who used to hang out with our car club and we became friends. She was pretty flirty and touchy. She had a girlfriend, so I never really took it as anything. She finally said her girlfriend gave her permission to be with me whenever she wanted. I agreed. Then it got very complicated and ended very badly. Story 2. Sexual history is not really a factor for me. If you are cool and ready to have fun, let's do it. My biggest issue is that my oral skills are competing with the planet's leading experts. Story 3. I would assume she was in denial about being bisexual. I probably would not say so, though no point in messing up a sure thing. Story 4. I am a straight man and call me old-fashioned, but I have never wanted to have sex with a man. You are bisexual, sister. Story 5. If a girl claims to be a lesbian but also wants to sleep with you, it could make you feel like an exception and good about yourself. However, if I did not know her well, I would question if it was just her way of picking up guys or why she would identify as a lesbian if she wanted to have sex with men. Usually, people define their sexuality by who they want to have sex with. For example, closeted gay people in history still had real feelings for their significant others. They just were not sexually attracted to them. Story 6. To be honest, I was shocked. But ultimately I was open with it and we have regularly had sex for years without any romantic desire for each other. Growing up, my friend always seemed disgusted by the idea of heterosexual sex. She never even considered men, and many of my friends did try to make a move on her because she is attractive, but she would firmly shut them down. I always respected her sexuality and never wanted to get on her bad side like my friends because she could be quite brutal in putting them in their place. The first time I really had an idea she was interested in having sex with me was in high school when a group of our friends were trying to get her to pick a guy she would most likely have sex with, and she chose me. I was surprised. She said she could see me being gentle with her, but I never took that as an invitation. Years later in college, we were roommates and got into a fight that got out of hand, and I did something that really turned her on. That was when she actually started thinking about it while I was still clueless. Later one day, we were hanging out and I did something that turned her on again, but this time she could not control herself and initiated sex. I remember sitting there as she made advances, and my brain was slow to process what was happening. Took a moment before I finally realized she wanted to have sex. But I was fine with it and it was great. Afterwards, there was another issue. It was very confusing for her. I will warn you about that. When she and I started sleeping together, it really made her question herself. She felt ashamed for a while that she kept coming back. Over time, we figured it out. We have an emotional connection as friends, a sexual connection. Our sex is very good, but no romantic connection. However, I am emotionally aware enough to handle that and not get confused. I really do not know how mature your male friends are, but be wary if you go down this path. You need to be dealing with a man mature enough to do this without becoming possessive, jealous, or anything like that. Story 7. If it was honest up front, sure. Sex for me needs some level of connection, and friendship meets that. Story 8. Sex is just sex in this scenario. You do not have to take every person home. I am going to be honest with you. There is a good chance you will not actually enjoy having sex with your friend. That does not mean you will dislike it. There is an awkward in-between. Sometimes the thought or fantasy is much better than the real experience. Story 9. Like a regular friends with benefits relationship or a one-night stand, there are no regular couple activities. I doubt many men would turn that down. Story 10. I imagine that there are several people who would be open to that. You just have to be careful. Most people generally have a hard time separating physical intimacy from romantic feelings. If you want to casually have sex with someone, you should make it very clear that this is your intention with no intention of a relationship. You should state this several times. However, even then, some people may not take you seriously and may want or expect some form of relationship. Casual sex does not usually end well. Story 11. Well, First of all, I think maybe you're actually bisexual or just bi-curious. Plenty of straight people flirt with some bi-curiosity and find they're bisexual, or maybe less perfectly straight or gay, or maybe it's just a fleeting curiosity. As for me personally, I'd be flattered as long as there's someone I'm passingly attracted to, and I'd be willing to help them explore that curiosity if we're not incredibly close, mostly to avoid causing problems in a social circle or community if things get awkward. I'm not really a one-night stand kind of guy, but I am a generally curious person, so as long as I think I'd enjoy it and feel like it would be an interesting experience, I'd be interested. Story 12. When I was single, I had an experience with a woman, but to be honest, you are obviously not a lesbian. You are bisexual but only date women. Story 13. I do not sleep around and am only interested in heterosexual relationships of depth, so that would automatically be a polite but firm no thank you from me. Best of luck figuring out what to do with your feelings, though. Story 14. I don't think if I were single, I could pass up the opportunity to have sex with a woman who was willing to have sex with me. Story 15. So, like a one-night stand with a lesbian? I mean, if she's nice about it and isn't treating me as just an experience and not an actual person, then I'm down to do it for fun. Yeah. Story 16. I would not make the first move on any woman who claims to be exclusively lesbian, but if she made the first move on me, I would consider dating her. Story 17. My close female friend, whom I care about deeply, wants to be intimate with me but without any relationship. So nothing to jeopardize, only benefits. I would be thrilled. Story 18. I have been in this situation and I am totally okay with it. She was obviously a lesbian when we met, but we got along at work like nobody else. We would talk and laugh nonstop. It was like we were an old couple that had been married for decades. She finally told me after a few weeks that she wanted to have sex. We did, and that was really the end of it. She ended up moving out of town and we never kept in touch. I honestly missed our friendship more than the sex. It has been almost 2 decades now, and I hardly think about it. Story 19. Stop worrying about offending us. If he finds you attractive and they are single, I guarantee they will be interested. He will probably also tell every male friend he has for the rest of his life that he is so good with women that he even attracted a lesbian. Story 20. As a lesbian on Gaydar, her words, not mine, it means you are probably a feminine man with whom she is comfortable. I have been down this road more than once. Once the clothes come off, the deal usually is 2. Story 21. A lesbian whose curiosity about her old high school friends is getting out of hand. As much as fun sex is enjoyable, if I think about it beyond the excitement, honestly, I don't think I would be completely comfortable with this scenario as described. Something about this is bothering me, but I can't quite identify it. It's not that she wants to try sex with a random guy, where there would be no feelings involved. She is specifically really into me, her old high school friend, and it's getting out of hand. Something is setting off alarm bells. My gut tells me there is more beneath the surface than simple fun sex. I just don't know what yet. Story 22. I'm sorry, what's the catch? This sounds like a good way to pass time with minimal strings attached. We fool around until one of us is serious with someone else, develops feelings, gets hurt, and we part ways. I get to brag that I piqued the interest of a lesbian. There are really minimal issues here. Story 23. If someone is interested in exploring outside their self-proclaimed sexuality, that is okay. It is not exactly easy to figure yourself out otherwise, without getting addicted. As for if someone wanted to explore with me, I would have been okay with that in the past, but now not so much because I would like stability and certainty in my relationships for a change. Experimentation means it is likely to end. Story 24. Many bisexual women love mostly women and like up to 4 men. Consider yourself lucky. Some identify as lesbians but also feel curious. Story 25. Honestly, as a guy who has had friends with benefits, I would be fine with it. I have had friends approach me because they wanted to try something out and felt safe with me. It has only happened a couple of times, but it was good fun for me. So if a friend wanted to explore, I would help her and keep my mouth shut. Story 26. Doing the math, if my female friend and I, male, were intimate but my female friend loves the cat, 2 things. If I were single and younger, I would take that all day. My female friend is not really lesbian, but bisexual if she feels like being intimate with a man. Story 27. A lesbian friend with benefits. What is the problem? It is probably a great learning experience. It would be a bigger problem for her girlfriend, actually. Story 28. Sounds good to me, but last time I hooked up with a self-identified lesbian. She demanded that I break up with my girlfriend and stay with her, and she was going crazy for months. Then she ended up getting married to a man 15 years younger than her and had a baby at 40. So I am not sure if I take it seriously. Story 29. As a man who knew someone with those thoughts about a man, her other lesbian friends saw her dating a man as a betrayal. I told her as a friend to follow her heart, not what other people think. As a man, if a woman is interested, see where things may go. Story 30. One of my friends with benefits is a lesbian couple. We have been hooking up for about a year and are great friends. It is amazing. Do it. You will learn a lot. Story 31. I took the chance, and it was amazing for both of us. We are still friends. She is an awesome girl and clearly understood how guys feel about dating. I would do it again. It was very healing for us. Story 32. Well, I would not be the one taking it for starters. But seriously, if she wants to have sex and has made it clear that there is no romantic involvement, then I am willing if I am attracted to her. Story 33. Just another person who thinks they are different, but they are still wired the same way as the rest of us. I would not even bother, but not for the reason suggested. Story 34. I did this once when I was young and single. I took it as a compliment. When my little sister got married, her lesbian best friend since elementary school, whom I had known since we were both kids, went out for drinks with me after we finished shutting down the reception hall at the end of the night. I don't remember how the conversation got there, but she admitted that she had a crush on me when she was little and before she realized that she was a lesbian. That led to her admitting that she had never slept with a man, and later to deciding, screw it. I want to see what this is all about. We had a great time. The next morning, she thanked me, complimented me, and confirmed that she was definitely a lesbian. Honestly, since we had known each other so long, it was nice to know that she trusted me enough to explore that with me. We never did anything even slightly sexual after that. Story 35. They do not like being in close proximity to masculinity but enjoy the experience. I would likely approach it knowing I would be valued primarily for physical reasons. If I begin to develop feelings, I would need to reevaluate the entire arrangement. Story 36. I would not believe her. But bear in mind, I would not believe any woman could ever be attracted to me, especially not a lesbian. The number one reason women reject me is because they are gay. Story 37. Pretty much the same as any other woman. Is she attractive? Am I looking for what she is offering? For example, no strings attached sex or a relationship, whatever you are seeking. If both of those conditions are met, then I am interested. Also, do not accuse me of being unfaithful because if I were, the second condition would not be met. I am not looking for anything outside of any relationship I am in. Story 38. Honored. However, having known someone who shared a similar story, you tend to think they might be lying. Story 39. I took it as a compliment. We always got along well, played video games, were intimate a few times, and then she got another girlfriend. We never spoke of it again. Story 40. I would consider that the highest honor. My partner was the only one she wanted. This might be the sexual highlight of my life. Story 41. Wow, this is so confusing. I thought you were a man the entire time. If a woman who only dates women wants to sleep with another woman, what am I missing here? Why is this in the Ask Men subreddit? Story 42. Congratulations, now you have become a man who is attracted to women, husband material for any girl who is attracted to guys because he actually treats women as people. Story 43. I would be extremely flattered that you are interested in sharing that level of intimacy with me and honored by such a high level of trust in me as a person, but I would most likely decline because I do not approach sex that casually. Story 44. The highest compliment and sign of trust from the most discerning women. We all need a lesbian friend who will tell us, let's be serious, when giving life advice. I cannot understand a person who only has sex with people who know where the clitoris is located wanting to risk it with a man. That, good sir, is winning at life. Story 45. I have experienced this twice. It was very flattering and surprising that they took me home. I understood how extremely rare such instances are, and they were placing a lot of trust in me to make them feel safe and desired. In both cases, they wanted something different and liked how I looked and treated them. In the second instance, she was bisexual and wanted to feel a man inside her again to have fun. She also asked me to be very masculine and aggressively dominant with her in bed, also known as fulfilling the daddy kink. Story 46. This, in theory, seems like the ultimate compliment you could receive, but it feels like a situation that would go horribly wrong if you actually accepted the offer. Story 47. If she was willing to have fun with you, would that be cool, or would the firm boundary of never dating be a deal breaker and insulting? They are adults. You can tell them that, and they can decide for themselves if they are interested in that arrangement. It is certainly not an insult to say you would be willing to sleep with someone. The usual advice about casual sex with friends applies. Do not do it if you are not sure they can handle keeping it casual, unless you are fine with the possibility of losing the friendship. I have been someone's exception before. It was fun. It confirmed for them that they are bisexual, just much pickier about men. Anyway, I do not care what you call yourself, but assuming you have either never been with a man or never enjoyed being with one, just acknowledge your knowledge gaps if you do not know what you are doing with his anatomy. In the possible case that you have an exceptionally great time, is that going to trigger an identity crisis for you? Story 48. She wants a test drive. You are a lesbian because you only like girls. It is not the other way around. If you like some guys, that means you are bisexual. Story 49. I have been in relationships with a few lesbian women. One woman told me she has sex with a man once a year, and that year was mine. Story 50. I have known people who were bisexual but homoromantic or heteroromantic. I do not understand why it would be insulting as long as everyone fully understands the situation. Story 51. I'm not a fan of the concept. Sex can take two paths: a continuation of a bond that has mutual appreciation and cohesion at its heart, or it is merely a drug, a simple release of endorphins with little lasting result. I prefer to use sex as a demonstration of closeness, trust, and admiration within the context of a sexual partnership, rather than dehumanizing someone to be used as a tool or a drug. But yes, your theoretical scenario will probably work out fine. Most men will take the notch on their belt without a second thought, especially if it means they can claim the title of lesbian layer. Long may he reign. Story 52. I think it comes down to emotional maturity. If both people are on the same page, no strings attached, no strange expectations, go for it. But if one develops feelings hoping it will turn into something more, someone will get hurt. Story 53. I would respectfully decline. Sexual intimacy without romance feels empty to me. If she only wants to engage in physical activities but refuses to date, things are not going to work. Story 54. I have been part of something like this. I met a group at a bar that ended up being good friends of mine. One of the group was a woman everyone knew was a lesbian. Imagine their surprise when she took me home the second time I met them. That was part of why I became part of the group. My lesbian friend said she wasn't sure what it was. I just did it for her sexually. I am nothing special. It was all chemistry. We would frequently contact each other at the end of the night if we both struck out. It was a fun 8 months, and then we both found serious partners. We are still friends years later. We just don't talk about it. Story 55. You are suggesting that sleeping with men instead of women is a choice. That is at odds with the "I cannot help it, I was born like this" narrative. Slippery slope, my friend. Story 56. I would be flattered but slightly concerned that I might be used as a cheap sperm bank that comes with an 18-year-long financial obligation. Fortunately, I have had an irreversible vasectomy, so that is not really a factor, but the motivation would be a concern. Story 57. Pretty much anything is fine if you are upfront with your intentions. Be consistent and clear, and if they are acting like they expect something different, end it. Story 58. I once knew a man named Floyd who worked in apartment maintenance. He went to an apartment to make a repair, and the woman who lived there had previously told Floyd that she was a devout lesbian. This time, she started to make a move on Floyd. This surprised him, and he said, "You told me that you only liked women that way." Without hesitation, she replied, "That is true, Floyd, but every once in a while, I like to get a little adventurous." Story 59. I was in a situation very much like this. I worked with a woman who was gay, and she was going off to continue her schooling. She and her girlfriend threw a party, and near the end of the night, she told me, jokingly, I thought, that after she was gone, I had better give her girlfriend a call. Fast forward to about 4 in the morning, when everyone was gone except me and the girlfriend. The next thing I knew, we were intimate on the porch. After that, I spent around 9 months having sex, getting high for free, and having dinner cooked for me 3 or 4 nights a week. I only ended it because I eventually met a straight woman whom I wanted to date. It was a glorious summer, though, let me tell you. Delicious meals, cannabis, and no strings attached sex. One of the best years of my life. Story 60. If I am understanding this correctly, if a lesbian understands the difference between romance and a hookup, being with a man, speaking for myself as a bisexual man, I would be interested. I have absolutely no problem with a lack of romance because I understand the differences. Hookups are for pleasure. Romance is for dating and marriage. Story 61. I was once asked by a same-sex couple to be their third partner because they thought I was attractive and both really liked me. It was the biggest ego boost I ever had. Story 62. Who is a staunch lesbian, but sexuality and romance are separate for her? Sounds more like you have some pansexuality going on there. Friend, nothing wrong with that. Sexuality is a spectrum and does not have to be strictly one or the other. Even someone who is a staunch anything can find themselves attracted to another person who is not their normal sexual attraction. Just give it a try. If it does not feel right, it was not meant to be. Nothing serious. You clearly have some latent attraction to them. Just accept that sexuality is not black and white. There is a whole range of sexuality, and what that means is entirely up to you. Emotional and physical sexuality is really complicated. The only thing you can do is talk to them and see if they are open to a physical relationship. But honestly, do not be surprised if they say no or end up catching feelings. Sex is an incredibly emotional thing for many people, and even friends with benefit setups often result in people catching feelings. Story 63. Younger me, between 15 and 25, would have been thrilled to the point of ruining a good thing. Older me, now 36, needs more context to decide. I am too old and do not make enough money to think about starting a family now, but I still have hope that I could grow old and share my life, either married or as close as possible. For that reason, I want to be safe sexually, and ideally, I would be the only partner, maybe even her exclusive sexual partner during our time together. If we are not exclusive, then I want to communicate about new partners openly, both ways. After that, it might be important to figure out if we have any overlapping interests. This could help avoid forcing compatibility where it does not exist with genuine feelings involved. Story 64. In my experience, that is usually the case. I do not take it, I give it. As long as there are consenting adults, I will never be a burden to their preferences. Story 65. I would be fine with it, but definitely want to play it like consensual non-consent and make it clear that if at any time she changes her mind or does not enjoy something, she says stop. I would not want her to look back and regret it later. I need to know exactly what she wants from the experience, so I do not do anything that ruins it for her. Story 66. Unless the man is in a committed relationship or genuinely serious about pursuing only committed relationships, this is generally a well-known fantasy and a significant ego boost for any man chosen. Story 67. I'd be fine with that. I think of myself as bisexual or pansexual and heteroromantic. Sounds like she is similar. Story 68. I had an ongoing affair with a lesbian once. I even met her partner, who was a police officer. She worked in a bar I used to visit occasionally, and we first struck up a friendship. Over time, she admitted she preferred women but occasionally liked to have sexual encounters with men. She liked me not because I was attractive, which I definitely was not, but because I was safe. I never hit on her and always respected that she was gay. Eventually, we got together. It was pretty amazing. It did not happen often and did not last long because, like many things, life gets in the way. But it is a fond memory, and if the respect and attraction are there, I say go for it. Story 69. Nobody would be offended by you asking them, unless they are in a relationship and you asking if they want to have sex would violate that. There is a chance that he would say no and you would have to accept that, but he could also say yes. Unless you ask, you will never know. Story 70. I would find it flattering. If I were younger, not married, and all parties knew what was going on, it sounds like a good time. I'm assuming the male friend is heterosexual. This may or may not go differently if they are not. I guess it really depends on the individual. I understand the need for a community. It can help people find their identity, and minority and underrepresented groups need to come together to be heard. However, I think many people now are in a rush to label themselves this or that. So many posts over in the LGBT community ask, if this happened or I feel this way, am I this label? I have known many people who limit themselves because they decide they are label A and now they cannot do things that label B people do. This can just as easily apply to heterosexual people not doing something because it is not heteronormative or because it does not align with their masculine or feminine identity. Final word. All the comments like, doesn't sound like you're a lesbian, are nonsense. And I hope you do not take them seriously. Call yourself whatever you want, love whomever you can, and in the meantime, be with whoever makes your body feel good. Story 71. I met a woman who said she was a lesbian. She told me she loves the feel of a man but wants a relationship with a woman. She said it was easier to explain to people that she was a lesbian. Story 72. The orientation is slightly unclear here. Until now, you have discovered your interest in women, so you identify as a lesbian. However, if you are also open to having fun with a boy or man, then you have that unexplored side as well. You are bisexual. This is just the first time you are realizing it. Sexual orientation is primarily a mental aspect rather than physical. It is all in the mind. Story 73. I was never a one-night stand kind of person, so I probably would have passed. I think it would be difficult to be together sexually and not develop some kind of feelings. Maybe not for you, but for them. Story 74. Sexuality is a spectrum, so you are not misleading yourself or the other person. You appear to be homoromantic but have a broader range of sexual attraction. Being sexually fluid in whatever cases you want is okay. You are not betraying the person or your identity. You are being honest about your orientation and what you can offer. Some people will be into that arrangement, others will not, and that is totally normal. For example, I find some lesbians like Lauren Sanderson very appealing. I cannot picture her dating a man. My point is, you are not out of line. If you find a connection, go for it. Just make the rules clear. My girlfriend is bisexual, which for some reason makes people raise their eyebrows like, there you go. But we are monogamous, so it rarely comes up other than talking about mutual likes in people. People get too hung up on rigid molds for these things. Story 75. It is going to vary a lot. Some people would be okay with no strings attached sex. Some, like myself, cannot separate feeling from sex and would decline. Story 76. I once had a woman who is attracted to women in high school tell me that if she had to sleep with a man from school, she would choose me. I don't really understand what that was supposed to mean, but I share that interesting fact every now and then. Story 77. I have had sexual relations with 5 women who identified as lesbian at the time. Here are a few points. 1. Do not be surprised if the man develops romantic feelings. The stereotype that men separate sex from romantic feelings is just that, a stereotype. Because of this, be honest about your intentions. You may want to be cautious about sharing this attraction within your social circles. It is my understanding, although secondhand, that there is a stigma about penile vaginal intercourse within the lesbian community, and that those who have engaged in it recently are not considered true lesbians. From my personal experience, with the expectation of just sex and the other person's request to keep our encounters private, I felt less like a sexual partner and more like a snack someone on a diet sneaks in hoping no one notices. Story 78. I had a female friend in college who said something like, "Women are beautiful, soft, comfortable, and really attractive. But man, I really like men." She mostly dated women but mostly hooked up with men. I think a lot of it was about comfort for her. She really enjoyed the company of women and saw herself partnering with one. On the other hand, she preferred sex with men. Honestly, I wouldn't think too hard about it. Just accept your preferences. Don't pigeonhole yourself and like what you like. Story 79. I have heard that some people find their romantic attraction and sexual attraction can be for different genders, but since I do not experience that personally, I have to take their word for it. Story 80. I have been with a few lesbians and bisexual women. Some bisexual women have not been with men in years, while some were curious about being with a man. The lesbians mostly wanted to look at or touch me. Only one was willing to share her partner with me. She did not want to be penetrated but was okay helping me be with her partner. It was more about her watching and recreating the experience, I think. Story 81. I would interpret her as bisexual but previously thinking of herself as a lesbian or not having met a man she liked yet. It is not uncommon for bisexual women to think they are lesbians until they reach approximately college age because they are only attracted to intellectual white men and one or two other types of men. Story 82. I connected with a woman who had only ever dated and been intimate with women before me, and she was 36 years old. Sexuality can be fluid. Relationships are different. Story 83. Homoromantic bisexual is the label. Many people shorten it to lesbian or gay to avoid explaining how romantic and sexual attraction are different. It is not a big deal to hook up as long as both people want it, in my honest opinion. Story 84. This sort of arrangement was not uncommon in my friend group, but we were a diverse and open-minded crew. Most of us were happy getting intimate with whoever was interested, even if it was not a romantic or long-term relationship. Story 85. I would not want to be with someone without the relationship part, but as you may know already, most men do not really care, at least not in the moment. Story 86. Pretty sure that is being bisexual. Romantically interested in women, but had zero issues and had an active need for traditional relationships. Basically averages out. Story 87. I just want people to enjoy their lives. Feels like labels have become gatekeeping. If anyone questions this, just tell them that you have a note from me granting you permission to be a lesbian who likes the occasional man. My note carries a lot of weight. Story 88. So a bisexual woman with romantic tendencies only toward women. I would mind if I were romantically interested in her, but if neither wanted romance, I would say there is no difference from any other woman. Story 89. If the physical attraction is there and you both feel it, then why not have some physical pleasure? Just communicate expectations beforehand and have some fun with it. Sex does not have to be complicated. Most people just do not talk about their basics first. Story 90. I've had the privilege of being intimate with a few lesbian women because they felt I would not make it awkward afterward. Two of them had never been with a man and wanted to try but did not have a good experience, so we stopped. Both times we went to the bar afterward to cool off, and both times they helped me meet great connections. Story 91. One of my close friends, with whom I've developed a strong friendship mostly over our shared interests, both being in sales, her being a pool shark and an enthusiast of beautiful women, has become somewhat of a cuddle buddy system. Sometimes she'll reach out after a tough week, or I'll ask if she's up for a little staycation, which means having her over a few nights to relax, catch up on Netflix, or whatever together. One night, after she attended a birthday event for a friend, there was a mix of embarrassing dancing, me organizing the night on the fly after a few no-shows, and going above and beyond to make it fun despite some early drama. Apparently, there was enough interest from her to say she wanted to have sex if I was okay with it. I said, "Yeah, of course, sure, just don't fall in love with me." She laughed hysterically, told me to be quiet, and asked for some lubricant after I jokingly offered her some Garnier Fructis hair serum because it was slick. We went home and were intimate. As expected, she was quite passionate, so I gave maximum effort in return, representing the guys as best I could. It was a good time. Afterwards, I jokingly asked if I measured up well enough compared to her usual types for her to develop a taste for men. Lying there relaxed, she laughed and said, It got the job done. But no, not even close. Penises are gross, and we're most likely never doing that again. Okay? I said, okay. Asked if we should get some late-night sushi, and we've continued with our usual relaxing and joking sessions, watching shows in a Mystery Science Theater 3000 style since then. For perspective, this was about a year ago, around 2 years after we initially became friends, so it kind of caught me off guard. But hey, why not? Story 92. Good. I don't see why I would consider it anything less than good if someone wants to have sex with me. Why would it be more complicated than this? However, if we are not dating, she will remain a casual thing and that's all. Nothing serious. Story 93. 1. I would take it as a compliment, but 2. I would not sleep with her. I am not interested in lesbians at all. Story 94. Wouldn't that make you more bisexual than a pure lesbian? Clearly, you are longing for something beyond foreplay. Story 95. To each their own, but I would respectfully reject the offer. I am demi-romantic and demisexual, so I only want to sleep with my partner. Story 96. Depends on how masculine she is and how straight she is in bed. If she is feminine, bisexual, and can actually enjoy sex with a man, I would be fine with that. If she is masculine, unattractive, or still a lesbian but wants to try it with me for some reason, I am not interested. Story 97. The thing I see a lot of people get wrong about homosexuality, and heterosexuality for that matter, is that they are preferences. One is defined by the preference to have sexual relations with members of the same physical sex, and the other regards opposite sex preference. The definitions don't really factor in intersex or transgender people, and they don't define people as limited exclusively to one or the other. For example, you might call Mick Jagger straight, maybe, but he's been with more men than most of us have been with women. He's been with many more women. He prefers women, but he's flexible. Same with Elton John. He's known to be gay, but he's been with more women than many of us. There may be a word for someone who's exclusively into the same or opposite sex, but the terms we use allow for flexibility and experimentation. It's thought by some, myself included, that it's a spectrum with exclusive to same sex on one end and exclusive to opposite sex on the other. Most people aren't on the ends. They may be close, but they're not 100% there. Of course, I say I'm 100% straight, but I'm also someone who hasn't had a lot of opportunities, so who can really say? All that said, if we were both single and the same age and consenting, it's all good. Her preferences are her business. And if she wants to swing the other way and the other way is into your bed, what's the complaint? Especially if, as you say, she separates romance and sex. I'd say you found a unicorn and she'd make a great wingman. Story 98. Been there, done that. Love whoever you want and have intimate relations with whomever you feel like. If there are two consenting adults, does it really matter which label you are carrying over your head? Story 99. If a lesbian chooses to sleep with you as a male, you should take that as a great honor. Just remember, she is seeking sexual contact, not a relationship, unless she specifically states otherwise. Story 100. Hard pass. Not because of never dating, just because I don't understand the thought process. Is she a lesbian? Is she bisexual? I'm not getting involved. Story 101. Sexuality and romance can be separate, but I am not certain about sex and friendship, unless alcohol is involved, and then there is the whole sort of looking over the bacon and toast thing in the morning. I suggest you ask whether you can send explicit messages first. Story 102. So, just like the situation I have with my former spouse, sexuality is a fluid thing. I accept that. Story 103. Don't think you're as staunch a lesbian as you believe. I'd be down for it though. It's just friends with benefits. Who cares if you're a lesbian? It doesn't change anything about how I'd be with you, so it won't matter. Story 104. I have experienced that a few times in my life. It's just a matter of time, but some lesbians I have befriended over the years tend to engage in intimate relations from time to time. The more inclined she is toward girl-on-girl interaction, the more likely she is to occasionally engage with a male partner. A dildo or strap-on simply won't suffice. That's where I come in. For me, though, she has to be at least clearly female, with a decent appearance and date of birth, even if she tries to present as male. I take pleasure in being dominant with her, to her lasting enjoyment. Full intense protocol. Story 105. Why would I want to sleep with someone who is not willing to date me? Unless she is looking to do things that other girls will not do, I do not see the point. Story 106. You do not know anything about men if you think that might be insulting. Men would gladly sleep with a woman if she is not very unattractive. Some might even be glad that there will not be anything more than sex. Some might be disappointed but would probably still agree. Story 107. This happened to me in college, and the amount of hate I received for confusing her made me realize how prevalent bisexual erasure is. It varies from person to person. I personally would be open about it, others would not. Have clear boundaries about what it is and have fun. Story 108. I was in this situation about 10 years ago. We were very close, and after a breakup, she said she was interested in trying things with a guy to see what that was like. Long story short, she is definitely attracted to women. We had a good laugh, and we are still good friends, but she knows she does not like men at all and did not know how to handle it. Story 109. She wants to try sex. Perform well, so she wants to share you with her friends. Do not go all out because she might want you for herself and then you will have messed up. Story 110. I have a theory that many lesbians are primarily attracted to women, but some experience a desire related to having a penis inside them. I am not sure if this is a primal feeling, but it is something they feel from time to time. This feeling comes and goes. Does that make them bisexual? Maybe by a textbook definition, but honestly, it does not matter. In the end, what matters is who you love and who you want to spend your time with. There is no reason to get caught up in labels. Story 111. Honestly, as long as everyone is clear on the boundaries and no one catches unexpected feelings, many men would be fine with it. Just do not lead him on. Curiosity is fine. Confusion is chaos. Story 112. She could be exploring new experiences or trying to trap someone for whatever reason. It is a huge red flag. Story 113. I had a threesome with a lesbian and a bisexual woman where the lesbian decided that in the heat of the moment she wanted to at least try touching it. We also kissed a bit. I was pretty proud of that. She was not attracted to men or bisexual, but she thought it was fun to experiment a bit. We both agreed that women are much sexier than men. Story 114. I have already experienced that. I had an enjoyable time. The real confidence boost was when she returned for more. Story 115. Happened to me. Before I met my fiancé, I had a friend with benefits who identified as a lesbian. We worked together for a while and were good friends. She was also single and we hung out a lot. One day she kissed me. That girl was also adventurous. She would come over to my house to make cannabis butter since she lived in an apartment. We would smoke, be intimate, and make the butter. Other times I would stop by her place for a quick visit. She was always willing. It was fun before she got jealous when I met my fiancé. I hoped we could still be friends without benefits, as we had been before we started being intimate, but no. I wish her well though. She eventually married a woman a couple of years later. I genuinely hope they are happy. Story 116. I have a dear friend like this. We dated for a bit. I am still the only man she has dated. She prefers dating women. I love her dearly as a human being. I genuinely want her to have all the happiness. She still enjoys intimacy with me. I am particularly proud that she said I give her oral sex the best she has ever had. Story 117. I have had that happen a few times, once even with a straight man. All very fun times. I find it very satisfying to be an exception to a person's usual attraction. I hope you have a great time exploring your curiosities. Life is too short to care about labels. Story 118. Very few single men would have any issue with that. In fact, you have removed the only concern about sleeping with a friend, worrying that it will either turn into more or ruin the friendship. This is not possible when the friend in question does not date your gender. Story 119. I would not worry about labels. Enjoy yourself as long as everyone is informed of expectations and intent. Who cares as long as it is safe, sane, and consensual? Most people would not mind. Story 120. I doubt it is real. This sounds like someone writing a story about I can fix lesbians or rage bait aimed at lesbians. Story 121. I think I saw that adult film. Well, the friendship is probably over. Her seeing me as a sexual object is not a good thing. I don't think I am the type of person to sleep with her once and throw away all our years of friendship. I think I would prefer to slowly fade from her life. Story 122. I wonder why she is switching lanes. Labels do not mean much to people, but I want to know why a woman attracted to the same sex is interested in me. Story 123. I would want the sexual relationship to have more meaning, so I would probably decline. However, if I decided to proceed, I would provide and wear a condom because that indicates a potential red flag, such as entrapment through pregnancy, if I am being honest. Story 124. I used to work with a woman who identified as a lesbian but admitted that she would occasionally be intimate with a man because she wanted something different. I do not think that is unusual. Story 125. If you are looking for a casual night of sex, then that is just fine. If she starts pursuing you intensely afterward, be aware that she told you she was a staunch lesbian before and that she does not know what she wants. I would not waste my time on women who do not want a relationship and would instead find a possible wife. That is just my opinion. Story 126. Well, my girlfriend says I make her more attracted to men every day, even though she is all about the ladies. It makes me feel pretty good. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.